Introduce you a really good friend of mine. I met him last summer via the telephone, and most of the people that you're seeing come up here and the hundreds of people behind the scenes that helped organize this march, we didn't even meet each other until 2-3 days ago, because everything was done by teleconference, email, all this stuff, and God bless the internet, or we wouldn't all be here right now. But this next guy, I was on his radio show. It's called Urban Shooter Podcast. He's from right here in Washington, D.C. He's a pastor at the historic Berean Baptist Church. I went to his church yesterday. Incredible, fiery sermon. The man, he is just a die-hard, freedom-loving America. He is my brother from a different mother, Kenn Blanchard. Give him a hand.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It is a great day for supporters of the Second Amendment. It was a glorious day, but then I was preaching. In church, I do preach. But everywhere else, I teach. I teach friends and strangers who don't know or don't know better about the Second Amendment. And thanks to the First Amendment, I'm standing here before you to share my perspective on this hot topic. I'm confident in the fact that the Second Amendment has a core group of supporters behind it that will never let it be less than our forefathers intended it to be, the right to keep and bear arms. You see, I know all about how people can interpret things in different ways. Would you believe on my birth certificate it said I was colored? A few years later, I was a Negro. Then around the 80s, I was an Afro-American. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce myself. I am a black man with a gun, and I am an American. I'm proud to say that this country was founded by people just like you. People who are willing to stand up for what they know is right. Now we're standing up to protect a right that others are trying to modify for their own agendas. If it weren't for people like you, people who are committed to preserving the essence of the Second Amendment, then over time we would see it erode to its original meaning, and from it, its essence, its beauty. Let's keep America free. Now I know this event is going to get certain types of media traction. It's going to have coverage the full spectrum. Everybody's going to have a different opinion. Some will think we're reactionaries who pontificate for our own benefit. They will say we're misguided in our strident opposition to modifications to the Second Amendment, because they will say that modification to the Second Amendment is necessary in this day and age. And others will say that we're doing the right thing, because if people like us don't stand up, then what we fear can happen to the Second Amendment will in fact happen. I'm glad you're here to do the right thing. How many people in this great crowd pull a trigger of some type? How many people believe that everybody in this great country of ours has the right to keep and bear arms? Just check the pulse, make sure I'm at the right conference. I've made that mistake before. Whether you're shooting a moving target with a paintball marker, hunting big game with a rifle, or taking your daughter to an indoor range, or simply have a firearm at your home for self-defense, you not only need to be aware of the current events involving the Second Amendment, you need to be committed to preserving the Second Amendment. That's right. We as pro-rights advocates need to band together, not as individual groups, but as one. We need to be one vote and one voice. Don't be misled by the politicians. They have their own agendas. You see, you'll see a senator on television with a big game hunt, and you'll think he's on our side. And the next thing, when that same senator is signing off on some new gun control legislation. In case you haven't noticed, politicians are very good at dividing and conquering. This is why I want to reiterate that we must be one voice and one vote. On a side note, that politicians and baby diapers should be changed regularly for the same reason. So how do we become one voice? I urge the leaders of the firearms industry and gun owners like you to reach out to one another in order to create a more unified position. When we speak as one and move forward as one, it can't separate us. They have to hear us. I realize this won't happen overnight, but we have to do it. If you are a competition rifle shooter, you can find a lot of reasons not to get involved with the indoor range crowd. You might think proposed restrictions on people in the city is not a threat to you out in the country. And shooters on something else might be perceived restrictions on 50 caliber rifle shooters as no big deal or no threat to you. And that's what the politicians want. They want a diverse assembly of firearms owners not to be together, not to act on each other's behalf. That makes so much easier to legally steal your rights. You see, our guns may not look alike, but we are all alike in that we all pull a trigger. By coming together, by rallying together behind each other's causes, we can create one voice that starts off low and rises up like a choir. Can I get an amen, somebody? I'm taking out in church for me.